Okay, so what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen are the pairs we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video because I do have a bonus pair in store. But yeah, guys, we'll go through my trades of the week first and then shortly after progress into the analysis. So if there's a particular pair you want to skip ahead to, feel free to do so using the timestamps. But I had two positions this week. Well, I actually had one position. I had one position I was carrying over from last week and only took one trade this week, which was well, the trade last week was on pound Swiss. This ended up in a small loss. Price never really got going in my favor. It was kind of just moving sideways. Had a bit big of a stop loss for my liking, but again, it fit the criteria. It was looking like a good trade for a push into these lows. Unfortunately, the setup never played out. Price respected support, moved sideways, and all of a sudden price started breaking to the upside and tagged me out for a loss. Then I had a small win on USD CAD, which I did a breakdown to yesterday. So if you haven't checked out that video, make sure you go do that. It's my most recent video on the channel. I'll put a link in the description to it as well. I had some nice longs here, catch a move back into the highs here. I was looking for price to go a lot further. And again, I go into a lot more detail of why and the thought process behind it. So check out the video if you haven't done it already. But this was the trade this week, which resulted in a small win. Price came to the resistance. Moved my stop loss to break even, took some partials, and then after that got tagged out and break even there. So that was my week coming into June. We've got 4 weeks left of June. Let's see if we can kill it. Next, we're going to move on to Euro USD like always. So Euro USD still quite bearish. We've had a nice break of structure to the upside, which is what I've been looking for. But again, for me, this buy is still quite aggressive. It's not a bad buy because we have a good break of structure. We're seeing some nice impulse momentum. It looks like this bearish structure here could have met its match, and we could be looking at seeing a big push to the upside. So buys here, not the worst shout in the world. Left, head, right, kind of giving us an inverse head and shoulder sort of pattern here. But for me, it's just a little bit too aggressive. I want to see the market start creating some higher lows first. Once I start seeing that, then yeah, I'm more than happy getting on the next following pullback. And the reason why I'm starting to, possibly look for buys for Euro USD, because again, we're still holding to this daily area, which I was talking about last week. And again, as you can see, we're still holding this trend line here too. So holding the support level and the trend line, market is still rejecting this on the daily perspective. As you can see, still firing wicks to the downside. So again, Euro USD for me is still not safe to short in this area. We possibly could be seeing a break lower back down to 1.05500. So if we clear this area, then pullbacks to the downside into this level look good. So if the market starts breaking through this area on the daily chart, not lower, because as you can see, we did break below, but on the daily chart, it was just wicks. So we need to see a daily candle closing below, because this is a daily level. So we need daily candlesticks to tell us that, okay, we're breaking out or rejecting. So if the market can break below on the daily, then yeah, pullbacks, the following days are looking good back down to the prior low at 1.055. So yeah, shorts look good after that, but if we don't see that and the market starts rejecting this area, like I said, I'll wait for the next higher low and then I'll look for my long opportunities. Again, the longs here just a little bit too aggressive for me, for my liking. Not that they won't work, it's just the way I'm on a trade. I want to see a bit more evidence that the trend is changing, and then I'll look to hop on the pullbacks following and probably look to ride it back to some key areas of resistance up there, looking very, very attractive indeed, around 1.095. So this is the main setup. I'm looking for Euro USD. Like I said, if you ever get that follow through to the upside, the market just cracks below, then you're looking at break and retest and then some pullbacks to the downside into 1.055. So I'm still kind of not fixed Euro USD for my bias. I'm kind of just playing it how Euro USD plays out. If we start seeing breaks to the upside, cool, I'm looking for buys. If the market starts breaking lower, see some confident daily candles below, and again, I'll look for shorts. I don't really have too much of a set bias right now with Euro USD. So waiting for some more evidence before I get into any trades. At the moment, I'm favoring longs. We did get that break of structure, but like I said, just need a little bit more evidence that we are pushing up before I look to hop into any trade. So keep an eye out for some buys and some sells as well for Euro USD next week. Okay, so next up we've got USD JPY. So for this pair, my analysis hasn't really changed much. I'm still looking at buys from 137,500, which is this lovely level of prior resistance, now turned support. As we can see, lovely move. Looking to see if we can creep lower into this area, and then I'll be looking for longs from this probably just back to highs, keep it nice and simple, probably get decent risk reward there too. So this is the setup I'm still looking for. We are quite corrective, so this tells me that this move is most likely retracement and most likely we'll probably end up pushing to the upside. Now, will we come back here and then push? That's up to the market. I have no idea. We are looking pretty bullish right now, and for all I know, the market could open bullish and we could just see the momentum kick in, and you know, by the time I wake up on Monday for lunch session, price could already be up there. So if that's the case, that's just not a trade for me. The move is already played out. This is where I'm looking to get involved and see if I can catch the next high low. As you can see, the market's printing all of these high lows, so I'm seeing if I can get back in on that action, catch the next one on the retest some structure, and ride that momentum to the upside. Higher time frames are still looking bullish, still seeing confident momentum to the upside on the daily, weekly as well. So for me, I'm only looking at buys, and I'm only looking at this level really to get long. This is kind of the only viable level that I can really trade from here for USD JPY. So it's either retest that level or I just don't get a trade from it. So this is why I'll keep an eye open out for USD JPY next week. Only looking at buys, targets probably back to highs around 141. So keep an eye out for USD JPY. Could be some nice longs. If we don't get it, then obviously we move on to other pairs, but that is my analysis going forward for this pair. Okay, so next up we've got dollar CAD. So dollar CAD, after I traded this one, humongous move to the downside, looking pretty bearish on the 4H and on the lower time frames. Daily is still pretty much consolidation. We still do have these minor high lows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we are still having this very slight inclination to the upside here for USD CAD, and now we are approaching a key level of support. So I'm still holding off sales. I'm not looking to sell USD CAD until I see the market break through this area. And yeah, sells all the way down going forward will look good, but at the moment we're coming to some really nice support where I know a lot of buyers in the higher time frames will probably looking to get into the market. So for me, USD CAD is coming to a nice place. Buys here are a tad bit aggressive, but as you can see, one big move, second big move, we could be seeing that pattern continue again. So buys down at 1.336 do look good. Stop loss underneath the area. If the market is breaking through this and hitting your stop loss, it's most likely we're having a breakout altogether and the market's going to reverse. So yeah, it's a good logical place for a stop loss, safe place for a stop loss. And again, targets, pick your fancy. If you're feeling a little bit more braver, you've got a lovely level up there. As you can see, each swing has got us back to that resistance at 1.364. We've got a fair good chance we'll probably get there again. If you want to be a bit more conservative, there's some areas on the left here, some areas here as well. That's a lovely level of support and resistance running through the market there. Resistance, support, resistance as well, around 1.354. So pick your fancy how far you want to take the trade. But USD CAD for me is still coming to buyers, a buyer's territory here. So I'm still favoring a push to the upside. As long as we can hold this, I do favor eventually a swing back to that resistance and possibly 1.39 as well if the high time frames are going to kick in back to those highs. So yeah, keep an eye on 1.355. Obviously, you see some good rejection to initiate the entries, but if you can get some good quality rejection there, I do fancy another move to the upside for USD CAD. Okay, so next up we got Euro Pound. So Euro Pound for me is looking good. We're starting to see some really good momentum for this one and some good quality structure. And I'm looking at a retest of this consolidation basically. Very, very simple price action. As you can see, momentum to the downside, consolidation, momentum to the downside again. Impulse, correction, / consolidation, another impulse. So all I'm looking at is something like this, back to the upside, and then let's see the next follow through to the downside. We are coming to some support here, so there might be some buys in the meantime, but I'm not really bullish on Euro Pound. So, if someone out there is looking for buys, did not mean to delete that. If someone's out there looking for buys, it does make sense, but I'm looking to follow momentum rather than start my own momentum, if you guys catch my drift. So with Euro Pound going forward for next week, I'm looking for a pullback back into 0.866, and from there as well start looking for my sells. I'm really liking the setup here. Good momentum, a good level of support, as you can see, rejected many times, broke through with good momentum as well. So this is an attractive place for me to look for sells, and again look for entry confirmations and naturally targets back down to the prior low. If you do retrace from here, that most likely will be my target going forward. So keep an eye out on Euro Pound. Some really good quality structure with this one. Probably even got some good confidence there with the fear probably coming back into maybe 0.786, actually 0.618. Probably maybe even trend line rejection as well, depending how steep the retracement is. So there's a ton of confidence in that area. Just hoping we see some upside for some retracement, and then I'll look for my continuations back to the downside. So Euro pound shorts, hoping to get a pullback this week. Maybe some buys to start off. Not really interested. Only looking for sells. So I'll keep an eye on 0.866. But yeah, looking at sells next week for Euro pound. Okay, so next up we got AUD USD. So AUD USD for me, I was looking to sell this one this week, but it broke through my level of interest, which was this level of support here on the daily. 4H, as you can see, broke through that. I was also looking at a retest of this area, but as you can see, the market broke through that as well. So we had a quite bullish AUD USD towards the end of the week. It was bearish for most of it, and then Wednesday, Thursday, we started to pick up momentum. So first half bearish, second half bullish, but that doesn't really change anything to my overall perspective and my overall projection of where I expect AUD/USD to head towards, which is this level here, 0.62 back down to these lows. I'm still very bearish, and I'm looking at the daily time frame, and sometimes you just zooming out, look at the bigger picture, does clarify things up. And looking at the daily did do that for me. I have a lovely level of support here around 0.66, lovely support once, twice, faked it a little bit there. Now we're coming back to retest the resistance, lovely wick into that level there. So from this area, I'm expecting price just to head to the downside now. As long as we can reject this coming into Monday, Tuesday, I'll be seeing what type of price action we can get there. And if things look good, I will be looking for some entries, take this back down, back into prior lows, and then eventually back into the low here at 0.62, which I don't know, could be a month, could be 2 months. Not really too bold. All I'm looking at is just good quality setup. So AUD/USD for me coming to a very nice area, taking out some minor highs here as well. A few people, well, more than a few people would have been trading from this area here. Stop losses above that definitely been taken out by this move. It's quite impulsive, so some people could be getting excited, get into some buys here. For me, this is just the market getting ready to fall to the downside. Could be wrong, but from my analysis, got a lot of probability that the market is likely to roll over. So I'm going to be waiting for some quality rejection here. Already seeing the first kind of start of that, so let's hope we can build up on that on Monday. If I can see some nice wicks down the 4H, some good momentum in the hourly, I'll be more than happy to take some shorts from this area, and targets back down to the prior lows, back to where we came from this week. So that's the plan for AUD/USD. Keep an eye out for this pair. For me, it's a very nice setup, good quality structure, good momentum as well. Just need to find some good entries. So yeah, AUD/USD shorts back down to 0.646 next week. Okay, so now on to NZD CAD. So NZD CAD seems to be falling out the sky here. We had a crazy move to the downside, breaking through some structure, and ever since then, we've just been correctly falling to the downside, and doesn't really look like we're slowing down. There's been some evidence of, some bullish candles, but if you look at the lower time frames, all we're seeing is lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, and just before the weekly candle close, really nice push to the downside there. So NZD CAD for me, definitely very bearish on multiple time frames here. Daily pushing through, we failed to get that continuation to the upside with this big bull flag at play. Markets cleaned out the lows and still pushing lower, so possibly we could actually be seeing a move all the way back down to these lows here, but again, that's not really important right now. Last week I was talking about push into this weekly structure. As you can see, we're just coming into that now. So for me, for NZD CAD, again, I know we're coming to some weekly support. Market's quite overextended. I'm not looking for buys at all. I'm still very bearish on this market, so this is looking like a decent area to retrace to. If we can get a bigger pullback back up to 0.826, I'll be interested for some sells. Originally I did say a nice retest of this support would be good, but again, the market's really pushed pretty far from that level, so I doubt we'll probably see retracement to this level here at 0.838. If we do, that'll be a hell of a bullish move, but I do like the levels still. If you do get a move there, probably will be looking for shorts there anyway, but this has to be the next best area here at 0.826, 828. So yeah, NZD CAD, very bearish for this one. Still seeing momentum to the downside on the weekly, daily. I know we're coming to some support, which is why I'm hoping for that retracement there to the upside, and then subsequently looking at shorting it back down to wherever we retrace from. If the market finds support here and pushes up, This will be my target. If it pushes a little bit further, then that will be my target. So a little bit difficult to say, you know, where the TP will be, but whether that low will form, whether it's here or slightly lower, will most likely be my overall TP for the trade, because risk to reward is looking pretty attractive right now. So in terms of bias and everything, NZD CAD is definitely bearish for me. I'm looking at sells, I'm looking at pullbacks for this one. Back onto that prior low looks good. That level looks good as well, but like I said, I doubt we'll head up to that level. So we'll be looking at 0.826 for some shorts. We'll focus on that area for some entries. Hopefully, get good pullback this week, and then maybe second half of the week, or maybe the final stage of the last week, we can start to see momentum creep to the downside back again. But yeah, definitely bearish for NZD CAD. Looking at shorts around 0.826 next week. Okay, so next up we got pound NZD. So pound NZD for me still very bullish on. I'm still looking for buys. Price has really ripped to the upside over the past kind of week or so, and has created some new highs past this point. But more importantly, if you jump to the weekly, past this high here as well, the main kind of projection is still looking for a push into the resistance up there at 2.1. So I still do see more upside for pound NZD. Hence why I'm just looking for a good retracement to buy back up again. And my main area of interest is just looking for the retest of some structure. We've cleared it by, you know, a decent amount here. It's not kind of a shallow break. Price has really cleared this level. So this level here at 2.04 is definitely a level of interest for myself. I'm looking for the continuation, you know, probably simply just back to highs. If things look good, I might leave some to trickle back to 2.1. But in terms of direction, everything is looking bullish here for pound NZD. Seeing good momentum on the weekly, daily, 4H. You know, we're just looking to buy this pair up. I did say this would be a nice place to buy, but again, similar to NZD CAD, you know, I doubt we come back there. If we do, you know, that's still a decent level to buy from. Lovely level of resistance, broke through with good momentum. Haven't got the retest of that level, so this is still a nice fresh level of support to buy from if we do get back there. But most likely, you know, a test of that resistance probably will do the trick for NZD CAD. So I'm looking at 2.0395 for some longs, and yeah, simply just back to highs, keep it simple, and if things look good, I might look to stretch it to 2.1, not too far away up there. So yeah, pound NZD for me, lovely bullish structure, really ripping to the upside. Hopefully we can see some correction there for pound NZD back to this area, and then yeah, looking for some longs back to highs next week. Okay, so now on to CAD Yen. So CAD Yen still pretty bullish. Most yen pairs are quite bullish, especially coming to the end of the week. Price just created some new highs above the highs there from last week. I said CAD Yen, my targets is back to this level of support, and we're very close now. So I still do see more upside for CAD Yen, and then maybe from here we might see a bigger retracement because we cleared these major highs on the daily a while ago now, and we might be looking at maybe tapping that level, bigger retracement, maybe back to a structure and then push again. Again, that's all theoretical, but for me, CAD Yen coming to very important support, turn resistance around 105. So we'll be keeping an eye at that level. I'm not looking to sell unless we create some really good bearish structure. So if price just reaches that level, I'm not looking to sell. But if price reaches the level and then starts creating some bearish structure, then on a pullback from that, then yeah, I will look to sell. At the moment in time though, we're not there, so I'm still anticipating more upside. So if we can pull back from where we are, that would be fantastic. Looking for a higher low, back to retest some structure here. Here on the 4H, coming to the trend line, got some nice confluence around 103, then looking for that third, maybe final push back into 105. Then like I said, we might see a bigger down move if the market rejects that area. So CAD Yen for me, still pretty bullish, still looking at longs. We just had a really nice push to the upside there before the weekly candle close. So I'm hoping to see if we can open up bearish, see some retracement, and then take some buys back into 105. Then maybe if we get some good development there, maybe towards the end of the week, or maybe next week, to be fair, because if we do retrace, it might take maybe a day or two to get there. So yeah, maybe next week could be some nice sells, or if the market is just bullish, test that level, and we start to see some development, then there could be some nice sells towards the end of the week for myself. But at the moment in time, I'm looking at buys at least until we get to 105. Then when we get there, then I'll start looking for some sell opportunities if we can see some bearish structure starting to form. But yeah, focus on the buys. 103 is my area of interest. We'll look for some buy opportunities around this area. Targets most likely back to highs or back to 105, depending on risk reward and how things are shaping up. But yeah, still looking at one more push higher for CAD Yen next week. Okay, so moving on to pound USD. So I haven't really been a big fan of pound USD price action. Not really looking to trade it myself at the moment. Still probably won't be on my watch list next week unless I see some crazy development throughout the week for the later stages. But pound USD, we did see a nice close underneath this level at 1.245, and the market's breaking back above. Now it looks like we're coming back for a retest. So possibly there might be some buys to continue. I'm not convinced. I don't like the way the market's retraced. As you can see, we did see an impulsive breakout. So I would have wanted to see a bit of corrective type of price action coming back down and then take the buys. As you can see, we've got impulse. Let me move that way. We've got impulse up, consolidation, impulse down. So that's not very attractive retracement. You want to see price up and do something like this. Not consolidating impulse back down against you. Not to say that we won't see a successful bounce, it's just that I know the probability of the setup is a little bit lower than my liking of how I usually take my retracement. So pound USD for me, there could be some nice buys back to resistance this week into 1.254 where we came back down from this level. I'm not completely sold, but it's a decent level here at the daily chart, so it could be an opportunity worthwhile on the lower time frames. For me personally, I'm just waiting for a bit more development on the daily and the full H before I do anything. If the market is cracking back underneath this, I need to start to see some lower highs and lower lows forming, and I'll take some shorts. I'm also looking at potentially a big head and shoulder pattern as well, left head and possibly right shoulder, coming back to retest that kind of shoulder resistance, if you will, and this being the neckline of the pattern. So if we start seeing the market break back underneath, starts giving us some lower lows and some lower highs, and shorts become very, very attractive. I'm not really looking to do too much in this area because, again, it's a quite sensitive region, being at a very critical daily high. Maybe the market is retesting to continue up. If that's the case, I'd rather wait for the market to push through and then catch the next pullback after that, rather than try and get in at this level where the market's just been fluctuating, almost consolidation really for pound USD over the past few days. So my advice going forward for pound USD is keep an eye on 1.245. That for me is kind of a pivotal level of where, if the market is rejecting, maybe we are going to go in that direction. I can see both good buy setups and sell setups with that head and shoulders. So personally, I'm taking a back seat, but if you do see some good rejection on the lower time frames around 1.24, 1.244, there could be some nice buys back to resistance to start the week off. So keep an eye out for the buys there for pound USD. But for me, I'll be sitting back for this one. There are other pairs that look a lot better, which I'll probably, which I would rather trade than pound USD at the moment. But things change very quickly, so I will keep an eye on the pair. So yeah, keep an eye out for some buys starting the week off, back to resistance next week. Okay, so on to pound CAD. So pound CAD, I was expecting price to break to the upside once we broke through this level here. Lovely level of resistance, as you can see, for that rejection. We broke above midweek Tuesday, and then we had a really nice retest. I was expecting pound CAD just to see some more upside, and we did briefly, as you can see, those wicks there, but the market just turned on the dime and came to the downside and broke back underneath the level and saw some really aggressive momentum to the downside. So it looks like we just had a big kind of fake out above this level of resistance here on the daily chart for pound CAD. So as you can see, lovely resistance here, once, twice. Market tried to get back above, failed to do so. So I'm looking at this kind of price action here happening there again, faking above the level, faking above the level. So I'm looking at market coming back down to this support level. If you were going to go bullish and see another higher low, like we've seen here, 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 and possibly here, we most likely would have stayed above that level and start to see some momentum creeping back in, coming back into resistance. But we never saw that. The market broke above, moved sideways, now it's crashing down back beneath that level. So my next educated guess of where pound CAD is headed to next is probably this support level here. So if pound CAD can start ripping through support, this is looking like a decent level to short from on the retest, catch the next lower high and then short from. Possibly if you see a bigger move back into 1.685, or maybe some shorts on the retest at that daily level. I'm not too sure about that because, again, pound CAD has been consolidating in this area, so really I want it to break free from this area here because we had a fake out above. Let's see if we can get the real move, break and retest, and then catch the shorts. That looks like a much higher quality setup to me than trying to short back of that area again, because we could just be seeing pound CAD messing around again and moving sideways. So this for me looks like we've just had consolidation. fake one way to go the other. So let's see the breakout. See some good momentum. Haven't quite cleared the level of support just yet though. If I move these lines out the way, as you can see, we haven't quite cleared the support just yet. So hopefully Monday, Tuesday, we can see that momentum follow through, catch the break and retest, and then shorts back down to these lows here. As you can see, lovely level of support. This will make up for a lovely place to place your TPs. So yeah, pound CAD going forward, I'm looking at more downside, fake to the upside above that daily level, seeing some nice momentum shortly after that. So I'm expecting more of that as long as we can break through this 1.672 level, catch the break and retest, shorts back into 1.66, sorry, back down to that support. So that's the plan going forward for pound CAD next week. Okay, so on to pound yen. So pound yen still climbing higher, crawling higher. Pound yen, again, I'm not really keen to get into this price action. It's very, very corrective and very tightly knit. So on the lower time frames, you probably have your luck with the break and retest. Again, coming into the week, we were pointing out this lovely level of resistance here. As you can see, a nice little retest of that. And then since then, the market's kind of been chopping high. And again, you do expect to see price action like this because we haven't been trading at this area, again, since I keep pointing out, since 2016, the last time we were trading at these prices. So these are fresh highs. We haven't been here for a long time. I'm expecting sooner or later to see some bearish price action and a retracement. So I'm not really keen to buy pound yen until I start to see bigger pullbacks. I'm still looking at 175, 176 as a nice target. So as you can see, lovely double bottom here back in 2015, so a long time ago. And we could be looking at a retest of this area around 175, 760. And as you can see, we're not too far away from that level. So yeah, pound yen for me, I still see more upside, but with this kind of corrective price action, I hope we can take a bigger dive to the downside, either retest some highs here, or even better, if you can retest this resistance, that would be really nice indeed. Catch a retest of this structure here at 171. We do have all of these higher lows connecting the dots, as you can see. 1, 2, 3. Let's see if we can get a fourth one. Either one of these levels look good, then possibly catch that next wave to the upside. So for me, for pound yen, 100% still a buy of the market. I know some people will be looking to short it because they feel like pound yen is very overbought and it's achieved some highs, so it needs to come back down, which makes sense, but it's just never a high quality trade for myself and not a trade that I look to take in my personal trading. So I'm looking to follow momentum. 171 is my area of interest, along with 172, retest of this area. Again, targets probably just back to highs where we retrace from, or possibly 175, 500, depending on risk reward and how things are setting up. Let me just clear the chart a little bit so you guys can see it a little bit clearer with all my messy drawing. There we go. So yeah, pound yen going forward, still pretty bullish on, still seeing higher highs and higher lows. Market's quite corrective here, so I'm going to be looking for some deeper retracement into one of these areas, looking for the rejection and then continuation back to highs. That'll be the plan next week for pound yen. And next up, we've got the infamous gold. So gold selling off to the downside just as the weekly candle is closing and retesting the level we're looking for. So gold's been quite corrective. I said the retest of 1970 could look good, but after some development this week, I just haven't been a fan of gold. And we came quite deep into the level towards the end of the week. And since then, the market's had a quite an aggressive sell-off after we've had a bit of dollar strength as well. So kind of in sync, giving us the same move at the same time in opposite directions. But gold going forward is still rejecting support and resistance. It's still respecting structure in the 4H time frame in terms of the lower highs and the lower lows, as you can see, coming back to resistance. So as a trader who lives and dies by structure, I've got to anticipate more downside, at least back into the prior low, but maybe further as well. And since the market's quite corrective on this move to the downside, this tells me that this move here for gold, most likely just a big retracement, waiting for the market to kick back in bullish eventually. So I'm still very much a buyer of gold eventually. And I do think this bearish, just hit the mic. I do think this bearish move here will eventually meet its maker and start to reverse. And I'm still looking at this weekly zone here around 1900, I believe it's 1900. yeah, 1900, 1910. I'm still looking at this level here as potentially the level to give us that bigger move. We might even come deeper into 1850, into some of the areas around there. But for me, gold is still bearish on the full H time frame. That's my time frame I focus on. So I'm still expecting to see a move to the downside, like I said, at least to support, and we're not too far off now. And if we can break through that, I'm looking at 1910, and then possibly from here we might see that break of structure, some higher highs and higher lows developing, and we can possibly ride some setups to the upside. In the meantime though, we can take advantage of some of this bearish momentum. I'm not the biggest fan of gold right now. Like I said, it's quite corrective. But if we can see a retest of some resistance here, 1970, this is a nice place to be looking to short and place your stop loss above. Reason being, this is where the market keeps tapping into once, twice, and a third time. So effectively, you want to have your stop losses above here, because if the market is breaking through that, it's most likely we're going to have a reversal anyway. So there could be some break of structures, you know, in here in the lower time frames and take some shorts off that. Not really my cup of tea, but if you can have a deeper retracement, have a nice safe stop loss above the highs here and look to ride that momentum to the downside, and either back to 1940 as a TP back into the low, or 1910, which is that weekly level I just pinpointed there on the weekly time frame. So gold for me, still bearish structure, still expecting more downside, and possibly could see some buys later on around 1910, but that is a topic for discussion later onwards. So gold bearish, expecting more downside. If you're looking for entries, keep an eye on 1917 to this zone here. Lovely wick rejections, now holding that as resistance, stop loss above, looking for push back down to lows for next week. Okay, so on to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, I'm still looking at buys at 25k. Still a lovely level of support sitting there untested, still crying out for some buys. And you know, if you do get there, things look good, meets my criteria, I will happily look to buy around 25k. Lovely high there, market rolled to the downside, broke to the upside with a lot of momentum, and since then we haven't got the retest, and now Bitcoin is still creating these lower highs here. So we had the high originally created there at 30k, 31k, and then the market rolled over, some lower highs there as well, rolled over again, cleared the lows and create some new lows, and possibly has printed just another lower high here around 28,250, and could be looking for the next wave to the downside. And then I could be looking for my buys for another crack up. Again, I'm not looking to push this buy too far as the structure has developed. It may give us a humongous move to the upside, it may just print another lower high and continue with this bearish structure, and then possibly roll over again. So I'll be careful with the TPs for that buy. But for me, I'm still looking at 25k, still a great level of support, untested. Hopefully we can get some good rejection around there for some buys. Bitcoin, in the meantime, there could be some nice sells on the retest of this structure, because like I said, if this is the next lower high in comparison to these highs here, we could have just seen a big fake of that resistance, could be seeing a nice retest of that level there, then catch some sells down the lower time frames back into some support, either, you know, around 26k, coming back into this support here with all these rejections, or if you're feeling a little bit braver, you can push it to 25k and then possibly catch the buys back up again. But the way I see Bitcoin right now, it's in a very corrective, almost kind of bull flag type price action here. So I'm kind of looking at that down move continuing back into the support for the bigger move to the upside. So for me, I'm still bullish. As you can see, we've had a low down here, high, low, high on the daily, so I'm looking to see if we can get another higher low for another pop back. But in the meantime, we've seen this corrective bearish trend, so I'm looking for one more drop and then possibly the buys back above, possibly back to highs, or maybe we could reject it again. We'll find out, you know, soon enough. So yeah, Bitcoin for me, 25k. I've been talking about that level for the past month probably. For some longs, still waiting on it, and hopefully you can see a down move to get it maybe later this week, or if not next week. So keep an eye out for Bitcoin, looking at some sells initially for some buys later around 25k. And last but not least, we've got EuroCAD, which is our bonus pair. So EuroCAD has made its way into the bonus pair, looking good. I'm liking the momentum. I've been talking about EuroCAD quite a lot on my streams, saying that I do have a good higher time frame buy, so I expect the market to go, but 4H isn't quite giving me the quality of the setup I want yet, and now it finally has, by ripping to the downside and seeing some good momentum, clearing this level of support where we had a really nice triple bottom, 1, 2, I mean more or less consolidation, because triple bottom normally means reversal. So not really a triple bottom, but consolidation, testing the support 3 times, 1, 2, and 3. Then we broke through and now we're seeing some good healthy momentum. So I'm looking at catching the next level high. We've got 1, 2, I'm looking to see if we can get a third one on the retest of that same structure. Lovely flip confluence coming into probably the 50%, 0.618. Well, it depends where we retrace, might come a little bit deeper, but more or less probably into one of those 2 areas. And I'm looking to see if we can catch a nice retest of that structure, catch the next way to the downside. On the higher time frames, I'm looking at possibly another major lower high developing. We've got one over here, second, I'm looking at third one here as well. So the way I see it, there could be a lot more downside in the future for EuroCAD. Again, that's a long-term projection. I'm not necessarily looking to trade that whole leg, that'll be crazy. I'm just looking to see if we can get a push back into this support level here on the weekly chart. So had a nice, let me drop to the daily, had a nice double bottom here, big move to the upside. Let me delete that out of the way. So a nice double bottom here, big move to the upside, and the market since then has been breaking structure here to the downside. So this bullish structure is over, nice double top reversal, now we're forming these lower lows and lower highs. Let's get another retracement leg back down to the support and maybe break it and go further, and my higher time frame projection could be correct. We'll see as price develops, but right now I'm just looking to short the pullback, short the rallies with EuroCAD. So I'm looking for one more up move and then catch some sells around 1.45. That is pretty much my only level of interest and the only setup I'm really looking at EuroCAD at the moment. There has been some shorts beforehand, but I just haven't been a fan of the structure. Now we're seeing a really nice bearish leg here. I'm more than happy to catch the pullbacks and start selling. So EuroCAD to me, looking at sales 1.45 or slightly above it is my area of interest, and targets either back down to the prior low or into this double support, double bottom here at 1.42 support, depending on risk to reward. But if I do get any trades, I'll share it with my Telegram, so make sure you're in that link in the description. But yeah, guys, it has taken us to the end of the video. Thank you so much if you made it to the end. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Obviously, it's a very long video, so if you did, claps. Is that right? Claps to you? No, props to you. But yeah, guys, I hope you have found the video useful. If you did, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel. If you want to see a particular bonus pair for next week, drop a comment down below. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching the channel and watching the video. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you all next week.